We'll go and get started with our meeting. I know everybody's got things that they'd like to be doing outside if it's not raining later. So welcome tonight to our July meeting. First thing we're going to do is observe a moment of silence. If you'll please observe a moment of silence with me to pray for the town. Amen. If you'll stand with me and face the flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Al, the first item on our agenda is a conflict of interest statement. Could you please read us through that?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Pursuant to North Carolina general statutes and the town's code of ethics policy, I ask each of you, as I do every month, before you adopt the agenda, if there is any actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which will come before this board for consideration and or decision tonight. If you do have a conflict of interest, please speak up and let the board know at this time.
None being brought up, and we'll move on with our agenda. Next item is to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. So a motion from Carl to adopt tonight's agenda, and a second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next item is our citizen comment time. This is something that we do at every meeting. I've got sign-ups for 4 citizens to comment. You're welcome to step up to the podium, and you've got 3 minutes to say whatever's on your mind. If all of you are speaking about the same thing, you can have just one person represent you if you'd like to do that, or if all of you would like to get up and speak, it's whatever you'd like to do.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Yolanda Morris. I live at, and my husband David live at 325 Harvest Way here in Mocksville. I'm the one that gave y'all the little maps in case y'all aren't familiar with that area. The reason I came is because of the amount and severity of the accidents at that intersection. I had called and reached out to the town and talked to Mr. Rollins, who was very great. He talked to me kind of how that works and who makes decisions in that area. That particular day that I called, there had just been an accident right there. I do want to put out there that on Harvest Way, there are 9 children that are either coming into driving age or are already driving, going through driver's ed, or just turning 16 and 17 that are just now starting to drive. That particular intersection, there are multiple issues going on. The speed is a factor. When you look at people that are coming from Country Lane, having to turn left or right, the traffic on 158 stays at 55. It does not slow down. When you look at that map and look to the right, that is a hill that is coming up from town going towards the Dollar General. The DOT, I have reached out to the DOT, several people at the DOT, because I was told they make the decisions. Their solution is to put a turning lane in on 158, turning left onto Country Lane. So we've now taken a highway where there's massive speeding going on, and adding a lane on a hill that is going uphill. So the depth perception needed to see the traffic so that you can turn left is now become more difficult. I don't see it as a solution, and it doesn't address all the problems there. The other problem is that Harvest Way, when the residents there are pulling up to that stop sign, you have a stop sign on Harvest Way that sits right there on the right where it's supposed to be. But then the people on Country Lane that have a stop sign, that stop sign actually sits back from 158 because of our road. And there's a huge tree right there. So not only can the people on Harvest Way not see traffic on Country Lane, the people on Country Lane can't see us to pull out so that we can pull out straight and get up to 158 when we need to turn on to 158 so that you are perfectly perpendicular and can see both sides of that highway clearly instead of at an angle. Because on Harvest Way, when you're pulling out, you are having to look in three directions. You are having to look to the right behind you, which I've been almost hit from people coming up 158 to turn left on the Country Lane or who are continuing to go straight. You have to look at the traffic on 158 going towards town, and then you're also looking to the left for the people on Country Lane. That is three directions, one of which is behind you on a hill. The DOT solution for that turning lane doesn't address the problem of the speed right there. When I brought that up to the DOT, I purposely brought up Milling Road because the three stop signs that were put in on 158 and Milling Road. And their response to me was, well, there's not enough driveways. And I kind of thought, okay, that doesn't make sense to me because in that particular, the town was able, or the DOT was able to go in there and see that there was a problem there because there were accidents there. The difference between those two areas is that before you get to Milling, coming from like the Dollar General going towards town, there are three traffic speed changes going from 55 to 45, then 35, then a stop. At this particular intersection, there is no traffic speed change right there. We're having to pull against traffic. Anybody on Country Lane is having to pull against traffic that doesn't slow down. You can go out there on any day, every day, and watch as the people on 158 heading towards town put their blinkers on, and the people on Country Lane having to turn right or left onto 158 go, and they creep out. They're hoping that the people that have their blinker on really mean it and are going to turn. That doesn't always happen. The other problem I see over there is that because of where those stop signs are, traffic on Country Lane blocks that road. And then traffic coming from 158 towards town, the people that, or guests or anybody having to come down Harvest Way, either have to make the choice to stop traffic if that road is blocked, which means it backs traffic back out onto 158. I am one of those people because I feel like I should be able to turn down my road. Or as I've been, teaching my kids, no, you need to just keep going down Country Lane, pull into the Country Vet and turn around so that you don't get hit from the rear. I have the right to turn down my road. I think I have the right to turn down my road. Which brings up another point. The road rage over there because of this problem is ridiculous. I have watched as a teenager heading to school one morning was scared to turn left from Country Lane onto Highway 158. And a man in a truck, a huge truck behind her, she was in a tiny little car in front of him, she was scared to go. And he was so impatient. He was sitting there honking at her, revving his engine, shaking his hands at her. I will say I have experienced the same thing with the road rage drivers out there. When I talked with the DOT about, okay, can we put in a speed limit change there, I feel like that would help at the minimum. Really, what I would rather see happen is a roundabout. Now, I see the comments on Facebook, people freak out over roundabouts, but they slow traffic down. The DOT told me that, we've only pulled from a little specific bit of money to put that turning lane in, but that's not the only money they have to draw from, which tells me that there is money to do something else in that area. I do know that you all, can't make the DOT do anything. I would ask that you make a recommendation to them. When I spoke, because there's two departments in there, one who makes the design decisions for what happens with the roadways, and then another crew that goes out there and implements that. Both departments told me, yeah, we see a problem there. They clearly see a problem there. I'm sure some of you have experienced the problem over there. I'm trying to keep our kids, our families, anybody turning over there from being killed. You can't expect that there's not at some point going to be a bigger accident there. That's what's already happened. So I'm asking, please make a recommendation to the DOT on behalf to do something right there to slow traffic down, to make it safer to get onto 158 and not block Harvest Way.
Thank you, Yolanda.
Thank you.
Anybody else out of that group like to speak? Sure.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good, thank you. My name's Jeremy Gordon. I also live on Harvest Way. I'd just like to reiterate what Yolanda was saying. With all the houses, townhomes, and everything that's going in on the other end of Country Lane, which is in the city limits of Mocksville, that's going to add excess traffic on the 158 end also. My son being a new driver, he's as nervous as could be. He would rather be out on 40 than trying to get out and in our road right there. The DOT solution, like Yolanda said, putting that turning lane coming from town out that way, it's going to create a blind spot. I just ask if y'all would just make some recommendations to the DOT. We'll do our part, speaking with them, but it, comes a lot larger from an actual town making a recommendation. So I just ask if you would just please do it for us.
Okay. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
How you doing? Evening, Commissioners. I'm David Morris. I live at 325 Harvest Way. I don't know, there's a whole lot left for me to say. But what I will point out is on this picture right here on Harvest, we see Harvest Way. This is an inconvenient intersection, and it's been left very vague because nobody wants to actually deal with it, except it's real, and we have to deal with it every day. And, and the reason we're really here is we're just trying to keep our kids alive, and that's what's finally motivated us. We've been talking for years. We're going to call up there and say something to somebody. But, now, the other day, about 2 weeks ago, there was 3 cars wrecked out there on my way to work. One of them looked like a high school girl. She was on her cell phone crying. And it literally had just happened. And I'm just like, we have got to do something. But what I just want to point out here is our inconvenient road, Harvest Way, it's a dead end down here. You can't get out any other way. So prior to Harvest Way, here on Country Lane, there is a stop sign, which has no meaning whatsoever. Nobody stops at it. Nobody slows down. As a matter of fact, if they see the nose of your car, they'll speed up to make sure you don't even think about getting out there. Because they just roll right past it. Deputies roll past it. Everybody rolls past it. It just is no meaning because they want to get up here to 158. They do not want to stop here so that we can make a choice on what we're going to do. And if there's 2 or 3 cars, then I'll just pull up there. Then you get to sit behind a wall of them until somebody decides that you're okay to pull out. One other thing I want to point out is when you're coming from Farmington this way, and I just want to say this, though, 158, it's not what it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. What it is now is a highway. Everybody's doing 65 plus on it. It's also a bypass around Mocksville. So everybody's choosing to use that to get around Mocksville. And I drive a concrete mixer truck, and I know where all these new houses and everybody's living at, where it's all going up, where all these new neighborhoods are. I see what's going on, and it's just continuing to get worse. So 158, everybody's booking, everybody's flying on this. Okay, so when you're on this, say coming from Farmington, you're coming from Farmington and you're going to turn into Country Lane because you got to get to Harvest Way, and you've got all these people, maybe you got 3 or 4 cars behind you, and you come up on it and there's 4 or 5 cars sitting here on Country Lane. Well, you can't even see your road. This is where you're trying to get to. So let's say that you're trying to turn in here, and maybe the guy behind you is turning on Country Lane too. Well, he's not expecting you to stop halfway in the middle of your turn. So you're praying you don't get hit in the rear end. He's praying he don't get hit in the rear end because everybody up here has no idea what's going on. So then that actually happens, and you're sitting here waiting till you can figure out how to get into your road. Now, here's one thing I want to point out. Sometimes you can be doing that same thing I just said. At the same time, somebody coming from Mocksville, they can be turning left. I'm trying to turn in here, and I'm stopped, and they're like, oh, they didn't expect me to stop, so then they have to stop. So these people, there's 5 cars here, it's literally a deadlock. That's not an intersection that you can even come up with a deadlock. How do you have a deadlock or a stalemate in an intersection? That means there's nothing there worthwhile that exists. There's nothing there. It's nothing's thought out whatsoever if you can actually have a deadlock. And we all just sit here till the guy on his cell phone 5 cars back realizes what's going on and decides, well, maybe I'll back up. And then that car will back up, and then this car will back up, and then you eventually squeeze into your road, and then that guy can go, and then that guy can go. It's ridiculous. It's like an intersection in the Philippines or something. It makes no sense. So that's what we're dealing with, and like I said, you know, that's just one thing. You can be turning left out of here, and somebody flying up 158. Y'all both are turning left. Both of you's turning left at the same time. They don't see you, and they're going fast, and you're creeping out because we're all scared right here. So they're just going fast, and they're turning left. And I've almost been hit by somebody when we're both turning left on the same road. That doesn't make any sense at all, neither. I mean, those are some of the scenarios that need to be mentioned. Here's what we suggest. Well, we'd love to have a circle in there. Because like I said, we're trying to keep our kids alive and our neighbors' kids alive. You know, that's what it all comes down to. If you had a circle there, we think we'd all probably have a good chance of living. But the thing is if this continues, we have to know that our kids, I have a daughter who got her driver's license last week. I have twins also who started. One of them started her first day of driver's ed today, where she actually drove. The other one's right behind her. I know my neighbor's got a kid who's got a permit. I know that the other ones are right there behind him as well. We're going to have to live with knowing our kids. I'm 58 years old, and I can barely navigate this thing. You know, I don't know how in the world those kids are going to navigate it. I really don't. And I'm not just being over dramatic. I'm serious. I don't know how they're going to. I mean, it's so many decisions to make all at once because you can't tell what's going on. Here's one thing we suggested. We'd like to have a circle. Nobody wants it. Nobody has money for it. I guess you can pay for it with one of our kids' lives. Then it'd be worth it, I guess, to somebody. But to us, it'd be too late. But what we have suggested, at the very minimum, is the Dollar General store right down here, and here's Harvest Way. We're like, from the Dollar General store, you pull out from the Dollar General store on 158, they got their own issues too because everybody's flying through here. Because like I said, it's a highway now. From here to here, why don't you slow the speed limit down so everybody has some sort of reaction time? And our stop sign right here, prior to Harvest Way, has no white line on the road. Why don't you put a white line right there so people actually stop? Okay, and if you won't, put another stop sign up there so they can't misinterpret. I get to run this one because there's not another one there. They must mean for me not to actually stop at this stop sign, but to stop up there. Okay, put a stop sign there, put a white line on the ground here, and change the speed limit right here. Boom, boom. So everybody has the ability to react. They say, oh, there's not 10 houses there. Well, you know what? Dollar General store and the Country Vet, they got more than 10 parking spots. And I guarantee you, they generate more traffic than 10 houses do in a day's time. That's 2 destinations people are going in and out of all the time. It just adds to this whole thing. But
Thank you, David.
Excuse me?
Thank you. Appreciate it. We got it
I
covered.
understand.
We'll
Thank
look
you.
into it, okay? Thank you for coming tonight, and we'll see what we can do. Any other public comment? Yes. If you could please hold it to 3 minutes, okay?
Oh, it'll be less than. My name is Jennifer Gordon. It's my husband Jeremy Gordon. I live on 363 Harvest Way as well. I am asking please for a recommendation, just for the simple fact, if there were to be a turning lane put in as a solution, that could pose a blind spot. And I know that the issue is at this point of people being rear-ended and that sort of thing. But I'm also concerned as well about pulling out and being hit in the side, T-boned, if you will, which I feel like can actually be a more dangerous and end up as a fatality, possibly. But they have covered everything. Like I said, I would just really appreciate it if there could be a recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment from anybody? Okay. If not, then we'll close the public comment period and move on with our meeting. The next item on the agenda is to adopt our motion to, looking at here, to adopt the consent agenda. We have a motion from Justin and a second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. First item under new business is to consider resolution awarding a contract to Cardinal Courts for pickleball court installation. Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Chris Vaughn for his work over the last couple of months to talk with folks, to look at the pickleball courts that we have talked about with SBA Home. We have a bid for $201,500 for the pickleball courts. Because bids only last for a certain length of time, I'm asking the town council to go ahead and approve the bid for these courts. We've already allocated in special projects line item money that would be utilized for this. And then to authorize the town attorney and the town manager to continue our negotiation with SBA Home on the naming rights and paying the cost share over that 5-year period. And we're getting close to that.
Any
Just
questions for Lee?
Running a little bit on the clock on the quotes.
Motion to approve. Motion from Carl and a second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next item is to consider the guidelines for the Mocksville Education Building. Lee.
Yes, I want to thank Lynn for helping to put something together for you all to think through last month. At this point, I have not received any additional feedback from you all. I think we provide an opportunity Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, when we're all here to help unlock the facility to allow nonprofit groups to utilize it. I know the Chamber of Commerce has an interest in utilizing it, I think the fourth Thursday of the month for some of their luncheons. Davie County Economic Development has started utilizing it. So we just want to have a policy in place so we're consistent and so that we can go ahead and amend our fee schedule that was adopted last month.
Any questions on this?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Justin, a second from Johnny Fry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number D, consider adopting, C, consider amending the fee schedule, adding the rental for the Mocksville Education Building. Lynn.
Yes, since you approved the guidelines, we added $75 an hour for nonprofits, not nonprofits, who uses the building. And so we have to amend that
Okay.
to put that in the fee schedule.
Okay. Any questions for Lynn on that?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Carl,
Second.
a second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item number D, consider adopting the resolution to accept drinking water, wastewater state reserve grant funds in the amount of $1,083,500 for the north elevated tank. Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. This is again a state grant. This will allow the town to be able to build that north elevated tank with no local money. It'll all be state grant money for that project, for the industrial park up there, and then to help with Hollingsworth Park.
Is anybody opposed to accepting state money?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Rob, and a second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item number E, consider a resolution awarding the contract to Little Mountain Builders for a streetscape project. Lee.
Just as a reminder, this project is for the sidewalk and street project in front of the courthouse and then across the street from the courthouse to make it more ADA compliant. We did go out for RFPs originally and really didn't get any quotes on it. So we sort of went back to the drawing board and took a couple of things out and broke some things up to make it a little bit more enticing. So we did get a quote from Little Mountain Builders. We have worked with them through Teague Engineering, and then NCDOT has signed off on what requirements they had as it relates to some of those crosswalks on East Depot Street. So again, we'd like to recommend approval for this project so we can get going on it and coordinate with the court on the heavy court weeks, try to get it in that schedule.
Any questions for Lee? Motion from Johnny Fry. Second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Item number F, consider staff to authorize the sale of 148 Cemetery Street through the upset bid process. Lee.
We have subdivided when that property was purchased. So now you have the Branham House on one lot, and then you have the other lot that the town would retain, in which you could go in with a street and still have a little bit of property left over for additional graves. Frankly, with the demand and interest for housing, it's my recommendation that we sell that house. It would be an open bid process that would allow that house to be utilized and would also allow the town to recoup some of its original expenditure. And I think the ultimate goal, this was pre-me, was just to be able to have ingress and egress on that end of the cemetery.
So any questions or discussion on this? Not, we just need a motion to approve. A motion from Johnny.
Second.
Second from Justin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And finally, consider withdrawing the grant project ordinance carbon reduction plan program sidewalk Duke Street to Avgall.
Thank you, Mayor. Typically, we don't cry uncle in situations like this. If you had a chance to read the write-up in your agenda packet, we did not allocate preliminary engineering as part of the original budget. The $143,000 was really more for the construction part. Duke Street's a little bit unique because it doesn't have curb and gutter, and you've got some other utilities that, as we began the process of looking where that sidewalk may want to go, became a little problematic. The other part of it is that because that was a federal fund, we're running up on their timeline and could not meet a timeline to be able to go to bid on that project before September 1. That meant that we would get pushed into the next cycle for 26, and frankly, there's no guarantee that that funding would even be available then. And the other part is, I think, frankly, we need to focus our efforts on Wilkesboro Street and some other areas that are of greater priority, have more houses, more walkability.
Any questions for Lee on this one? We just need a motion to withdraw the grant project ordinance.
Second.
Just have a motion from Justin and a second from Carl. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. There's no other new business to come before the board. Communications from town staff. Al, did you have anything you want to communicate tonight?
There's two things I'd like to talk about. Back in 2017, July 2017, I attended my first meeting as your attorney. This is my 8th anniversary as the town attorney, and I want to thank you for continuing to retain me. One of the things that makes my job a lot easier is to work with motivated professional staff, which Mocksville has. People don't call me unless they have a problem, and I got a call from one of your staff members who's here about an issue, and we talked about it, and I said, well, I have to check the law on that. And she went out and did her own legal research and came back and said, here's a way that this could be handled. That never happens. People usually call me and say, here's a problem. Now it's your problem. Let me know when you fix it. So that was Raina Gaither, and I really appreciate it. Go Raina.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Okay.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, Al, for dumping my problems. I'm sorry for dumping my problems.
So, Lee?
Yes, just a couple of quick things. One, the mast arms that have been erected at Gaither Street and North Main Street, the contractor for that project is having difficulty to find a subcontractor that is willing to bore under Main Street. The ultimate goal is to bore it and not cut it for the lines that you need. That being said, Lynn and I were on a call today with DOT. They're going to allow the sub another couple of weeks, the contractor to find another couple of weeks to find a sub. If not, then we may have to wind up cutting the street to make that happen. So just FYI on that. Davis, Martin, and Powell is a sub engineer for Teague Engineering for Wilkesboro Street sidewalks. We should have some kind of rendering from them within the next couple of weeks. once we know that date and they're coming into town, I'll let you all know what's happening on that. We should be sending out an RFQ for our downtown master plan within the next couple of weeks. We talked about that now that we're in the new budget year. Just letting you know, based on emails that I've sent you, that we're still continuing to work diligently regarding our water treatment plan and ensuring that we have the operators that we need. No public health issues. We can just do it much more efficiently. And today met with the county officials regarding the bulk water purchase agreement. We may have something to you all within the next couple of months, but the start date probably won't take place until February. The Carolina Disco Turkeys, Greg Sullivan is going to meet with Caroline Moser and me and with Chris Vaughn to see what can we do to make the Carolina Disco Turkeys Mando Field at Rich Park their home field. So we'll keep you posted on those discussions. And then Habitat for Humanity, the mayor was out of town. I went to represent the town Sunday for their open house. What a lovely home, lovely family. Habitat is very thankful for the town's participation with a water meter on that. And I will also let you know that Habitat has started a new program for folks that are eligible, that they will do repair to homes so that they don't have to move out. So just keep that in mind, and we'll be happy to pass along the Habitat for that. And that's all that I've got right now.
Thank you, Lee. Jenny?
No, just thank everybody for their hard work.
Rob?
Well, thank you everybody for the hard work. Thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate you. We appreciate pictures and a presentation that's very heartfelt and thoughtful. So we will do what we can to make good recommendations for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carl?
Same, thank you to the staff, thank you to you all for coming out. We hear it and we will do what we can to help you through it.
Justin?
Yes, yeah, same. I don't really have a whole lot, but yeah, thank y'all for coming out.
And I realize the problems y'all have, and I do appreciate y'all coming here.
Yes, thank you for coming. I know that sometimes it's hard to get up in front of a town council and do that, but y'all, that's exactly how things are supposed to work. And I will tell you this, speed of government is not always that fast, and when we're working with DOT, it's not always what we want it to be. So just know that we heard you, and we'll see what we can do. One announcement that I would like to make, there is a retirement reception on October the 23rd at the Brock at 6 p.m. And this is the ladies that have played basketball for the Senior Center for years and years. It's Alice Barnett and Miss Evans and different ones. And they're like in their 80s and 90s now, and there's a retirement for them. And it's going to be at the Brock on October 23rd, and it's a pretty big deal. It's going to be in the paper, and there's going to be people making presentations. So I would ask that goes into the record that we are promoting this as a town. So if anybody could please attend that. Senior Services is putting that on, and they would ask that we RSVP to them. Other than that, I don't have anything else to announce. I hope everybody has a great summer. There's lots and lots of things. If you'll notice the article that was written in the paper this past week, there's so many things going on in Davie County as far as concerts and festivals and different things. We should all be taking advantage of everything we can in our hometown. So thank you for being here tonight. I do need to go into a closed session to discuss real estate purchase.
I move that we enter closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11 to discuss litigation and acquisition of real property and personnel.
So we have a motion and a second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for being here tonight.
To adjourn.
Motion from Rob, second from Jenny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.